KTPF Community Talk Show is sponsored by Craignos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including fright nights, all-night investigations, and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the late delay. I'm having problems with my laptop. All of a sudden, Skype died on me, so I'm hoping to refresh it again. But welcome to the show, another evening at the KTPF. Well, it's all about the unknown, and at the moment, this is being unknown. So I'll sort it out when Steve's doing the observations. So had it all lined up, all planned. Never mind.
Oh dear.
Here we go. Anyway, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the KTPF Community Talk Show, recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication. The show that one of our listeners said is like sitting down for coffee with a group of friends. So grab your coffee. My name is Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
And we're here keeping the paranormal friendly on www.ktpf.co.uk. For those of you who are new to the show, the KTPF was started by Steve and I back in 2007, and our mission was to try and bring the paranormal world together. In 2012, we decided to have a chat room with a difference, inviting you to engage in a live, friendly discussion with our special guests and various investigating groups from around the world, with a variety of topics from cryptozoology to UFOs, while encouraging you and them to share information, advice, and most importantly, friendship. Remember, collaboration, not competition. Although concentrating more on the investigating side of the paranormal, this show incorporates a wide spectrum of this fascinating subject. So if you have any questions, you can use the live interactive chat room where we will ask our guests for you, or you can call in and ask them for yourself. Later, we will have the rundown of this month's events from paranormaleventsforyou.com. So what's on the show tonight? Well, later on, we will be speaking to Lee Conway from Primrose Unknown Projects in Rotherham, PUP for short, about his group, as well as the National Emergency Services Museum in West Bar, Sheffield, formerly known as the Fire and Police Museum. And at around 8:30, we will be talking to our first guest via Skype, which is Richard Thomas from Swansea, who calls himself a paranormal expert, who has been asking, have you ever wondered how ghosts work? Plus telling us about the alternatives to the extraterrestrial hypotheses. So who have we actually got in the room tonight? Wow, David Lloyd. Nice to see you.
Yes, welcome, sir.
Welcome, sir. Nice to see you. You've not been on the show for a while. I have to get you back on again. Let's see. We know we've got Ghost Rider out there, 1973, and also Mank Hypno Man. We've got more than that actually listening.
Yeah, we have 10 viewers in.
Yep, we do have 10 viewers in.
Come and join the chat room, guys.
Yes. So, as I say,
you can ask your questions, chat amongst yourselves in there. And if
yes.
there's any questions you want, no matter what field it is, if it's not to do with our guests, as soon as our guests go, ask us and we'll do our best to answer it for you.
Yeah, and now I just want to let you know, if you've heard the first bit before we start off with our countdown, you would see that we are sponsored now by
we now have a sponsor.
Craignos contacted us. Well, actually, Steve Brown contacted us.
Yes, from Paranormal World.
From Paranormal World, and said at the end of the day, we would like to sponsor you because he enjoys the show and this, that and the other. And he spoke to the powers that be at Craig and Oss, and we've been keeping it tight-lipped for a while, haven't we, Steve?
Yes.
Just in case it didn't go through. But we are now actually sponsored by the most haunted castle in South Wales.
Yes. Pays for all our
internet and what have you.
Internet subscriptions and stuff.
Yeah.
It keeps the show going.
It does. Right, Ace Paradox has just joined us. It's nice to see you. Maybe I'll see you on Thursday at the meeting, Ace.
Hi, Ace.
So, but without any further ado, and while I sort out the laptop, because we'll be calling in about 15 minutes,
you better be quick.
I'm going to hand you over to Steve for this week's observations.
Okay. I'll keep this nice and slow, shall I? So give you two.
You've only got 15 minutes.
Okay, well, there's your first link. Giant Thunderbird returns. Today, these enormous birds have been seen soaring through the skies of Pennsylvania. In the past, they've even been blamed for snatching children from the ground. A gigantic bird has been sighted in Pennsylvania on the evening of Tuesday, September the 25th. 2001, a 19-year-old claimed to have seen the enormous winged creature flying over Route 119 in South Greensburg, Pennsylvania. The witness' attention was drawn to the sky by the sound that resembled flags flapping in a thunderstorm. Looking up, the witness saw that appeared to be a bird that had a wingspan of an estimated 10 to 15 feet and a head of about 3 feet long. This is the most recent sighting of an incredible creature, most often considered a myth, known as a thunderbird. Sightings of these gigantic birds are apparently unknown to science, go back hundreds of years, and are part of many Native American legends and traditions. They have even been blamed for abducting or attempting to abduct small children, and now they seem to be soaring through the skies of Pennsylvania. On December the 25th, the witness told researcher Dennis Smeltzer that the huge black or greyish-brown bird passed over about 60 to 50 feet. I wouldn't say it was flapping its wings gracefully, the witness told Smeltzer, but almost horrifically flapping its wings very slowly and then gliding above and passing big rig trucks. The witness observed the creature for about 90 seconds in total, even seeing it land on the branches of a dead tree, which nearly broke under its great weight. Unfortunately, no other witness saw the bird, and on this date, and no tangible evidence could be found for the bird after the website was searched. So there you go. It's the wingspan total wingspan doesn't sound that big, to be honest.
No.
I forgot to hit the send button for that last one, but there you go. I'll send it this time. There we go. That's the next one. Raptor sightings in Georgia by Y. Phillips. This happened to me and my grandpa on a hunting trip in July 2008. I don't see my grandpa very often, so I always take the chance to take trips with him. Grandpa is pretty much an outdoorsman and enjoys hunting, fishing, and just being in the nature. Grandpa and I were in the woods. It was about 3 to 3:30 on a Friday, the 25th of July. I was 18 at the time. We were on Grandpa's land in Georgia. It's a pretty place with typical Georgia woodland and few grassy plains. We were walking on a little rocky ground heading for a site where Grandpa often sees deer. As normal, there were a lot of sounds going on at night in the woods. We ignored most of them and remained quiet, not to scare away anything. Suddenly we heard an unusual noise. We never heard it before on our many hunting trips. Grandpa looked at me and listened, and then raised his finger in front of his mouth to show me that we should make no more movements. I heard a lot of movement and more of the noise. I can't really describe the sounds, but I can sure describe what I saw, even when it was pretty dark. And we just kept listening to the sounds, and suddenly something came walking slowly out of the bushes and onto the road, maybe 150 yards in front of us. My eyes got really big, and at that moment I wasn't even scared, just amazed to see this creature. We didn't move. As crazy as it sounds, it looked just like a raptor from the popular Jurassic Park movies. I just froze because I thought things that lived many thousands of years ago. It had a long stiff tail, walked on 2 feet, and had short arms. It looked lizard-like and had a huge claw on both its feet and smaller claws on its arms. Since the creature appeared to us that it could run fast, we decided to just not move at all. It raised its head in the air. It seemed like it was smelling the air. I estimate its height about 5 feet at the shoulder. After sniffing the air, it made these sounds again, turned around and ran off in the bushes. If that was me, I'd say you can stay in the bloody bushes. I tell you, then you wouldn't see me up there again. Oh, no, thank you.
Okay.
That's one dinosaur you do not want to meet in a dark alley.
No, definitely not.
Especially the confusing thing there is if it was a raptor, raptors are actually pack hunters. So you don't usually find one on its own.
No,
well, you wouldn't do according to all the books anyway.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder where the rest of them were. Okay. The eerie incidents that reportedly have England terrified cricket players making paranormal claims. Aha. Members of England's cricket team are apparently so convinced that their London hotel is haunted, they've reportedly been unable to sleep and have requested room changes after what one player recounts as a series of eerie and terrifying incidents. The players who are staying at renowned Langham Hotel are apparently convinced that the accommodations are haunted, with one of their wives and girlfriends so freaked out they've refused to even stay at the hotel, according to the Daily Mail. Stuart Broad, a right-arm seam bowler and left-handed batsman for England's cricket team, apparently opened up to the outlet about mysterious taps he's heard and a purported presence he claims to have felt during the Sri Lanka test last month. I had to move rooms. It was so hot in the room I just couldn't sleep. Broad said of his need to switch locations during the recent match. All of a sudden the taps in the bathroom came on for no reason. I turned the lights on and the taps turned themselves off. Then when I turned the lights off again, the taps came back on. It was very weird. He added that he also woke in his room around 1:30 a.m. one night and was convinced that there was a presence in the room, and that another player, Matt Pryor, felt the same. The incidents sparked a few sleepless nights, Broad admitted. It totally freaked me out. He added, noting that many of the issues are on the hotel's third floor, I'm telling you something weird is going on. The Langham Hotel, which opened in 1865, has long been considered one of the nation's most haunted hotels, so it's possible the players knew of the folklore before staying there. Regardless, their claim about the third floor is interesting, especially considering a past Telegraph report claiming that room 333 is where the most purported paranormal activity is observed. The most common sighting is of a man in Victorian evening wear in room 333, who apparently appears only during October. The outlet reported another guest claimed to have seen the figure of a man in military attire standing by the window of the fourth floor, which is said to be the ghost of a German prince who jumped out the window before the start of the First World War. So there you go. So now we know why we didn't beat Sri Lanka last month.
Right.
All the players have been spooked.
Yeah. Bit spooked.
Here we go. Here's another one for you. Paste.
What we got next?
We have inner awareness. Are birthmarks related to one's past life?
All right, okay.
I have a couple of stories here on this one.
Yeah.
The first Western scientist I know who have conducted a series of research in reincarnation of birthmarks was the late Dr. Ian Stevenson, head of psychiatry department at the University of Virginia, USA. He investigated around 3,000 cases of spontaneous past life recall by children ages 3 to 13. He found remarkable evidence of past life memory and wrote around 20 of them in his pioneering book, 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation, published by the University Press of Virginia in 1974. The following are some of the remarkable connections between birthmarks and past lives from 210 individually reported by Stevenson. A boy named Maharam in India could remember being killed in a previous life with a shotgun fired at close range. He remembered enough details of his past life for Stevenson to find an autopsy report of a man supposedly reincarnated as Ram. The birthmark on Ram's chest corresponded with the bullet wounds.
I see.
A 12-year-old boy in the Middle East, born with a ring-like mark or a scar around his neck, remembered two uncles who beheaded him in order to get his inheritance. Karen,
Funny you should say that.
go on in.
Well, I was just thinking, them people with like blood marks, you know, the really big ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I've known a few people in my past that have got really big ones on their head, you know, on their forehead, or something on their face or whatever. It could be something similar. You know what I mean? It could have been a blunt force trauma or something that happened in their previous life.
It could indeed. Kevin Kubico posted photos of herself in high school with the birthmark on her neck and a photo of herself later in a life without a birthmark. She said she remembered that in a previous life she was a woman named Helen who was hit by a stray bullet in the neck and died in 1927. The mark was where the bullet had hit her in her vision. After she remembered this, the mark gradually disappeared. Some years back, I had a gentleman at a seminar who was a graduate student in genetic engineering from UP, who had a big hematoma birthmark on her lower back and a big mole on the right side of her stomach. During the past life regression in my SKR class, she saw herself as a male rebel leader, rousing people to rise in arms against the government in the 17th century Italy. A soldier caught her and she was whacked with a wooden bat on her back, and another soldier shot her on the right side of her stomach.
Yeah, John just said Gorbachev has one of them blood. What I can't remember.
It does on his forehead, yeah.
Yeah, what they called?
I can't remember. What it's called.
Like a port mark or something.
Have a Google.
Wine port or something.
Yeah, it's a port mark, isn't it? In another interesting case study by Jim Tucker, who continued the work of Dr. Stephen, the birthmark was traced to past life. An old woman died in Thailand with a wish to reincarnate as a boy. Her daughter dipped her finger in white paste and marked the back of the woman's neck with the paste. Not long after the woman's death, her daughter gave birth to a son with a white mark on the back of his neck that looked like the white paste left on the woman's nape. So there you go. There's a lot of things that come across like that.
Yeah, I've just Googled it like you told me to.
Port wine mark, yeah.
Yeah, port wine, pork. Look at me, I'm getting hungry again. Port wine birthmarks, and they are rarer, but related conditions that often lead to lifelong struggles with blindness, seizures, and mental disabilities. They're rarer than the normal birthmark. So.
Yeah, and I assume as children they got a lot of stick as well. Children can be so cruel. Mind you, they're not the only ones. What I'm going to tell you about now, the site I've just put on, it shows you a video. Please look at it later, otherwise you'll miss 8 minutes of the show. This footage of Bigfoot raiding the garden. The 8-minute video filmed somewhere in New Mexico supposedly shows Bigfoot running away after raiding a family farm. The witness, Brenda Harris, has photos and evidence of this actually happening. Is mind-blowing. Here's the raw footage. Now, it says raw footage, but there is writing been added to it. So
it's not exactly raw.
So
it's been edited.
It's been an editor somewhere. But now I've seen the footage myself, I don't see anything that would tell me it's Bigfoot.
Mm.
We are looking at more likely someone trying to get over the US-Mexican border, but judge for yourself. He just looks like a person in the distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's why they would think that particular video actually shows Bigfoot, I do not know.
Mm.
Obviously, I would hope that the photograph she's got shows a bit more,
Yeah.
but they're not on the site.
How are we doing?
1 second, there's the next one. This is one that was given to me by my ghostwriter.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, are you brave enough to look into Timothy Clark Smith's grave with a window? Timothy Clark was a 19th century doctor with incurable fear. Dr. Smith suffered his whole life with taphophobia,
It's because you didn't have any tongue twisters. You wanted to make sure.
defined as an irrational, morbid fear of being buried alive.
Mm.
You got a slight one of this of yourself, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes.
I have.
Today, the fear of being buried alive isn't quite so prevalent, but not too far distant past, it was a justifiable thing to worry about. In the 18th and 19th century, there were reports of sick or dying people that experienced something called Lazarus syndrome, which is the spontaneous return of circulation after failed attempts at resuscitation. In other words, you wake up 6 feet under.
Yeah, they used to put bells on, didn't they? And then the string would go down, and if your work did come alive, you could ring the bell from within.
Yeah. Unless the ones you left behind that was getting all your money, just cut the string. One theory phenomena is that chief factor is the build-up of pressure in the chest. As a result, cardiomyopathy, resuscitation, CPR, and relaxation of pressure after resuscitation effects have ended is thought to allow the heart to expand, triggering the heart's electrical impulses, restarting a heartbeat, says Wikipedia. It wasn't uncommon for undertakers to discover scratch marks inside the casket lids after exhuming coffins, or to find evidence that the corpse had pulled out their hair post-mortem. I believe the word you're looking for is yikes. It was around the time period the innovation of safety coffins came into play. Safety coffin or security coffin is a coffin fitted with a mechanism to prevent premature burial and allows the occupant to signal that they have been buried alive. Large numbers of designs and safety coffins were pretending during the 18th and 19th century, and various on the idea are still available today. That bit was also from Wikipedia. There have been recorded cases of Lazarus syndrome happening recently as February 2014. When a 78-year-old Lexington man named Walter Williams was found moving on the slab. He was even well enough the next day to carry on a conversation with his family. He died for good 15 days after his first death. Walter was just one of many people who had died, woken up and then died again. Well, what Dr. Smith actually had, what he did, he above his grave there was a tunnel down with a glass window on the top, so you could actually see into the coffin. So if he was moving, you'd be able to see him. He also had the bell fitted, like you said.
I see.
And for you sky watchers, the 2014 meteor shower Delta Aquarius will peak on the 28th and 29th of July. So if you like watching out for the old meteor showers, that's the best days for you.
Right, that's if we got clear skies. We
yes,
should have.
And look towards Aquarius.
So this is it. But
there you go, and that is me.
Right, okay. Well, don't forget, cheers, Steve. Don't forget, if you
You're
have
welcome.
any problems with live stream, it's not down to us, it's down to them. If we have any problems, we'll refresh. And if you have any problems, we ask you to do the same thing. We are recording it, don't forget, for radio replay purposes for our YouTube channel. So it was in there. The bag you want. Sorry about that. And, I'm just hoping that this works. With
either way, we will endeavour to get back to you. So please stay with us.
So I'm just seeing whether he's ready.
Let's see if we can contact our first guest on Skype.
And hopefully my Skype will work. It was working fine. I was talking to Ghost Rider earlier.
And then it went.
Off. He froze. Then he's tried calling me again, and then after that it just went AWOL. Aha, we may have success on a plate. Just see what he's saying.
Push the button.
Which button? I will in a minute. He's typing.
I
So
see.
just to let you know about Richard. Richard is a writer of non-fiction books, magazine articles, and newspaper columns. He has written articles on a wide range of subjects for the South Wales Evening Post, Swansea Life, Alien World, UFO Matrix, Mindscape, Paranormal Magazine, and many other publications. And you can read articles for Neonatal by visiting neonatal.com and searching for Richard. Richard Thomas. Right, okay. He says he's a bit nervous, but I'm sure we'll welcome him okay.
Oh, yes. Don't be nervous.
We're ringing. Aha. Do we have contact?
Hello.
Hi, Richard. I had a bit of a Skype problem before we started the show, so I'm hoping it behaves itself. But if push comes to shove, I do still have your landline number if it hasn't changed. Okay.
Right, okay. Well, I'm in a different house.
Oh, right, okay. In that case, it won't be okay. If we do have problems, just quickly write your number or something on the message thing and I'll ring you. Anyway, welcome to the show again. It's been a while since we've had you on.
It's nice to be back.
Good. And there's no need to be nervous. You should know that. It's a relaxed show. Basically, last time we had you on, we were talking about what you did. So just briefly for the new people that's listening, can you introduce yourself and tell the members in the chat room what you do and why you're interested in the paranormal?
Okay, well, I suppose my interest started when I was a kid. My dad had a lot of books about the paranormal and things like that. And when I was a teenager, I saw a UFO, or what I think was a UFO, and I started buying my own books about UFOs and studying it. And a couple of years after that, I started writing a column for a website called Journal of America, and that led to writing for magazines, and eventually I had enough material to put a book out called Paranews.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it, really. I've started writing for another website now called Neonatal.
Right, okay. Now, I've picked up a couple of your articles here. So the first one, which will be quite good and interesting for our ghost hunters and investigators in the chat room. Have you ever wondered how ghosts work? What's that all about, Richard?
Well, I've become a bit skeptical, really, about the idea that ghosts are the spirits of the dead. But I definitely believe that people see things that they can't explain.
Yeah.
You know, apparitions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just I needed a topic to write about, so I started writing about that.
Yeah.
And I came up with a list of different theories that I've heard over the years that are alternatives to this spirits of the dead explanation. But they're not skeptical theories. It's not like I'm saying that it's just hallucinations or anything like that. These are ideas that are just as paranormal and fantastic as the idea of life after death.
Well, I must admit, as an investigator myself, as well as my husband, we've been doing it now for 7 years, and not a lot has happened. You know, you get the odd knocks and bangs and that, but nothing you can actually say is really put your finger on it and say it's paranormal. So it'd be interesting to know what you've got to say about these things.
Yeah, we're starting to think that it's actually the people that are actually with you at the time that is actually causing it.
Yeah. So you've got here psychic powers. What's your theory on that?
Well, it's not really my theory. This is other people's theories that I've heard about and I've included in the article. Well, that breaks down into two basic ideas. The first one is that it's the people themselves causing things to move around, poltergeist activity. It's their own like psychic powers, basically, that's doing it. That they're unaware of. If you can follow that.
Yeah.
That's one theory, but kind of I included it in the same part of my article is this other idea, because I interviewed the former editor of Paranormal magazine, Richard Holland, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And when he was a kid, he had a poltergeist at his house.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him what he thought it was, because, is it the spirit? Was it the spirit of a dead person, or did he think it was like this psychic powers idea? And he said he didn't think it was either. He thought it was something it was an entity, but it wasn't a human entity. It was more like an alien from another dimension or something like that.
Yeah.
That was using human thoughts. It was somehow using our ideas to take form in this reality. It's a hard idea to explain, but because we believe in ghosts, it manifested as a ghost.
Yeah.
If you follow me. But the idea could also explain UFO sightings and things, because if you go, perhaps some UFOs are the same phenomena taking place, but there's a belief in that area of UFOs rather than ghosts.
Yeah.
So perhaps they take the form of, flying saucers, grey aliens, things like that.
So going back on your, how a ghost works and that, if somebody was to say to you, they've seen their granddad sitting at the foot of their bed or something, and maybe spoken to them, what is your research or whatever do you think about that?
It's actually quite a common thing to happen, what you just explained. I think probably most people experience something like that after a relative dies, grandfather or something like that. I would first try to explain it through, just a normal psychological explanation. They're thinking about their grandfather that's just passed away.
Yeah.
I would explain it like that myself. I know it sounds very it's sort of hard and sort of scientific, but I think you have to be when you're trying to study this subject.
Yeah.
But the really interesting case is when somebody says that to you is the people that see their grandfather at the edge of the bed or in a dream or whatever it is, and they've passed away without the person knowing. You see that? But then it becomes interesting, because then you can't explain it as a simple psychological thing that would probably happen. It becomes a paranormal thing to investigate at that point.
Yeah. David Lloyd, who's in the chat room, nice to see you there, as I said earlier. He's wondering if ghosts and spirits are basically souls without the hindrance of a human body. What do you think to that?
I used to absolutely believe it. Years ago. It was kind of like something that I just had a belief in, I suppose. But over the years, I've become more skeptical about the idea.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think there's probably life after death, but I don't think they're hanging around on planet Earth for hundreds of years doing the same thing every night. It's what you have to believe if you believe in a lot of these ghost stories. The person is doing the same thing over and over for hundreds of years. It just, if that is what happens after we die, it sounds like a terrible thing. That sounds like some sort of punishment for me.
Yeah.
Well, I would call that a ghost, which to my mind is basically a bit like the stone tape theory. They're just doing what they always did, and we can't contact them. I would consider a spirit to be something completely different.
What's your theory on the stone tape theory?
Well, because of what I just said, the idea that a ghost would do the same thing night after night for hundreds of years, that sounds like, to me it sounds like a recording.
Yeah.
I don't think that those kind of ghosts, or whatever you want to call them, are intelligent. I don't think they have any, they're just a recording. They're like something that you've tape recorded or you've got on your record on your skybox or whatever.
See,
I don't think that you can communicate with them. I think they're just some form of psychic recording that we're playing in our minds.
but there are some that you can seem to interact with. You know, what do you think
They're
that
the
is?
ones I would say are actual spirit.
You think they're actual spirit that
Them
you
ones,
can
yes.
interact with? Yeah. That's the way we look at it. Ghosts and spirits are two different things.
I mean, that's assuming that with our own energy, we're not actually creating an entity ourselves.
This is
Yeah, I was just going to say something like that. How do you know that we're not? They seem to have. I know what he's talking about. They seem to have information that only the dead person or someone close to the dead person would have.
Yeah.
So you've got to, like mediums when they communicate with spirits. Now they well believe that that's what they're doing. Now, but is it really what they're doing, or are they somehow unknowingly picking up on information from the living?
Yeah.
Psychically or something like that.
Yeah. Ace Paradox has said that he must be lucky. He's witnessed several incidents which he believes are paranormal, but recording evidence is important. He said his belief is a ghost or spirit haunts for a reason, and he also believes time stands still for the spirit.
Right.
What's your reaction?
Well, I hope time stands still for the spirit if he's going to be here, until he's done whatever it is he has to do. Because otherwise, it's I certainly wouldn't want to come back as a ghost.
No.
I'd much rather be reincarnated or go off to heaven or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But how would you explain situations that people are actually seeing loved ones hundreds of miles from where they should be just before they die?
Oh, crisis ghosts.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that could be. I think we're dealing with more sort of a telepathic connection between the living rather than the dead coming back to haunt us. Because I think what this connection is, as the person is dying or about to die. So it's a connection with a living person rather than a dead person. I think there might be cases of just after the person has died. So maybe it's something I like to think about is perhaps the mind or consciousness sort of lingers around for a while, and I suppose that is a ghost, a traditional ghost. But how long this consciousness hangs around for, I don't know. I don't think it would last hundreds of years. Do you know, like when a body dies, it takes time for the cells and things to all die.
Yeah. David Lloyd has asked. Well, he said that if we have a soul each, and when we die, our souls leave the body, could it be they all go where they're supposed to, but some don't reach where they're supposed to go?
I suppose it could be. It's fun to think about. It's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
I guess it really, how to answer that, it comes down to what your belief system is. Whether you believe, that there's a God or whatever somewhere that sort of makes sure everyone ends up in the right place. I suppose if you're someone who doesn't believe in God, but you still believe in the idea that, life after death and so forth, then something like that could happen.
Yeah. So, and another theory that we've had before is that maybe we've crossed over, or vice versa, into their frequency, so to speak, like a bit of a slip. You know what I mean?
Like another dimension.
Yeah, another dimension.
And as far as they're concerned, we're the ghosts haunting them.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I always liken it to the film The Others. I don't know whether you saw that one. But,
yeah, I've seen that film.
Yeah. Where, we're thinking that she's the old people are the ghosts and it's actually her. But I'm wondering whether it's possible to actually interact sometime, and that's why you're seeing the spirit. But it also one other thing that I've always been fascinated by is going on to your next subject is the theory that whenever you see a UFO, people are seeing ghosts. Are we seeing ghosts, or are we seeing entities or extraterrestrials? Sometimes they say even people think that Bigfoot is an extraterrestrial, etc., etc. What is your theory on that?
Well, I suppose the best way to explain it is I don't have one theory that I think explains what UFOs are. I think UFOs are lots and lots of different things.
Yeah.
People have sort of put them all in this UFO box when really they're just things that we can't explain.
Yeah.
One idea is the one I was trying to explain earlier. This idea that perhaps there's other entities, or whatever you want to call them, in another dimension or frequency, whatever word you want to use, and they're using our thoughts to take a form in this reality. I'm working on a book at the moment called Alien Invaders, and I'll be looking at alternative ideas to UFOs. I thought it might be fun to call one chapter The Bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what they're doing. They're building bodies from our thoughts somehow.
Yeah.
And then, and perhaps this lasts for a few minutes or whatever it is, and then they sort of disperse, and it looks like they've just disappeared, which is often what in ghost sightings and UFO sightings, and some Bigfoot sightings as well, it just disappears.
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to UFOs, we all kind of jump to the conclusions that they're extraterrestrials, and obviously that is not necessarily so. But I find it interesting that whenever there's a sighting of a UFO, we tend to get other sightings of other paranormal entities in and around the same area.
Yeah, which would support this idea that I'm trying to explain now. It's a hard idea to sort of get. Once you get your head around it, then it perhaps it would make a lot of sense.
So where do you hope to go with this idea about the how ghosts work?
I'm not sure really. The problem is, I think for a lot of people, if you say that ghosts are not the spirits of the dead, to them that sort of makes you a skeptic.
Yeah.
You automatically assume that you're just debunking everything and saying that it's all nonsense. Well, that's not what I'm saying at all. I think it's something that's completely different to what we think it is.
Yeah. I read something earlier today that would seem to suggest that maybe a lot of the so-called UFOs are actually ourselves, some alternate path that they like. Say, for instance, that the Cuban Missile Crisis. They were actually ahead of us, and they've come back to stop us from making that mistake. So now our path has been changed.
Yeah, that's one of the ideas I looked at in one of the articles I wrote. Is the idea that they're us from the future, and that might explain some of the 1950s contactee stories. These were sort of before abductions, and they were the beings that were on board flying saucers weren't these grey guys that we're familiar with today. They were just human beings, wearing sort of like Star Trek uniforms often, that kind of thing.
Yeah, David Lloyd says that
like people from the future.
Yeah, he agrees with everything you're saying. He feels the same way. He's got the same thought. Sometimes our thoughts seem to come from left field, as if not our own. He said we're all energy, and when the energy dies, we're still energy in a different form.
Yeah,
that's what he says.
Yeah, when the body dies, we're still energy. Yeah.
Now you're going on to talk about the alternatives of the extraterrestrial hypothesis. I always get problems with that word. Hypothesis. Now, what's this all about, Richard?
Well, I suppose it's the same as ghosts, really, as I'm believing UFOs, but I'm becoming more and more skeptical about... Well, not really. I do believe some UFOs are aliens from elsewhere, but I don't think all of them are. I think a lot of them are something else.
I find it weird that the Americans get a lot of sightings more than we do.
I think a lot of the American ones are actually their own government.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Nazi Germany had flying saucers. At the same time, so did America. So I think they've a lot of it is their own people just experimenting with new craft.
Yeah, the good book to read on that is The Hunt for Zero Point. That's the book to get on that theory that it's all black projects that the Americans are funding.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is that, and that's why you get a lot of sightings in America, usually in the Southwest, where they do a lot of testing because that area is sparsely populated.
Yeah, I mean the problem with America is every time we try and come to terms with what's being done, you automatically get labelled as a conspiracy nut.
This is it.
Well, sticks and stones.
Yeah.
You just can't worry. If you're worried about people calling you names, then don't research any of this stuff.
Yeah, you're in the wrong field. Right. You go on to say that most of the sightings after the war continued, obviously, and first in the form of the ghost rockets that menaced Sweden in 1946, and most famously the flying saucers that invaded the United States in 47.
That was H.G. Wells having a go.
Was it H.G. Wells having a go? So what is it about these that you do you think these were actually UFO? Well, supposedly extraterrestrial from another planet.
Yeah, what I was trying to get at that point was in that article was it wasn't until about 1950 that people started people use terms like flying saucer, but flying saucer didn't mean alien spacecraft like it does today until about 1950. Because that's when a book was written by Donald Kehoe.
Yeah.
And that was, I think he did a magazine article first, and then that was popular, so he turned it into a book. That's when people started, flying saucers meant alien spacecraft. Before then, flying saucers meant either secret American aircraft or something the Russians were making. Or perhaps the Nazis had developed, and perhaps the Nazis had survived the war, and perhaps they had a base somewhere that we didn't know about. You see, so what I was trying to get at is that UFOs does not mean alien spacecraft.
No.
Because it's an important thing to bring up, because have you heard the footage of when the Roswell crash? Today we recovered a flying saucer and that kind of stuff.
Well, bits of it, yeah. I know basically the story.
Yeah, because they always play that in documentaries.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the Americans are admitting that they've got an alien spacecraft. Because today flying saucer means alien spacecraft, but back then it didn't mean that at all. It just meant these mysterious objects, but people thought they were probably made by human beings.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get to really was that in that article was that UFO seems to be it's Earth based rather than something from outer space.
Yeah.
Most of the sightings happen on Earth. We have got some astronauts that have seen some strange things in outer space, but the vast majority of it is Earth based. And whatever it is, 90% of it is coming from this planet. It's not coming from elsewhere. But that doesn't mean that some of it has something that's as incredible as UFOs, like perhaps as alien spacecraft. Perhaps some of them come from another dimension. Perhaps some of them are time travelers.
Yes, I noticed here that you mentioned about quantum physics and the possibility of the alien craft being time machines from the future. Yeah,
because there's a book out, I can't remember the title, UFOs in wartime or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there is a spike of UFO sightings during times of conflict. So, maybe these are people from the future that are trying to alter history in some way to make sure these conflicts, don't end up in nuclear wars or something like that.
Yeah. And talking about Roswell, we're actually trying to get somebody on the show to talk about the Rendlesham incident, which actually happens in our own country. So hopefully we'll get a theory on that one as well. But see what happened with that. So
yeah, that's an interesting case.
Yeah.
The thing you want to look at, I suppose if I was going to write an article on that, the thing I would look at would be the idea of mind control, brainwashing. Some of these people had were involved in some sort of mind control experiment to make them think that they'd seen this unusual, craft or whatever. Perhaps there even was a craft, and they were, high on drugs at the time. But
this is it.
Or something. I know that sounds crazy, but the Americans have admitted to doing these kind of experiments at one time, anyway.
Yeah.
They would put LSD in people's coffee and see what it would do to them, and things like that.
Yeah. So basically, it's not just ghosts, is it? And extraterrestrials. You're also including demons and fairies. So where does that part come into it?
Well, if these are... I suppose what I was trying to say is that demons and fairies and aliens might actually be different names for the same phenomenon, that they're not, they're not literally fairies and they're not literally aliens. They're taking the form of those beings because that's what people believed in at the time. You see?
Yeah,
so it's to do with that idea I was trying to explain about perhaps beings from another dimension manifesting that they're using our thoughts to take form. So if one of them was sort of to appear in the Middle Ages, perhaps they would take the form of a demon, perhaps an angel, because people were more into religion at that time. That's what they believed in. If they appeared in the 1950s, films like War of the Worlds coming out, science fiction was big at the time, so they take the form of Martians, alien beings, and now we're sort of quantum physics is big at the moment. I think so. Perhaps they start to take sort of more because the Greys have become sort of more, I don't know what the word I want to use, interdimensional, spiritual. They become sort of less physical than they were when they sort of first appeared in around about, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction case. They were sort of more like, they sort of behaved more like human beings at that time. Sort of explorers going off. But later on in the 80s and now into the millennium, they've sort of become less like us and sort of more... It's hard to... I think you get what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, we're more conditioned to actually think of them as being more alien-like rather than like us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've become stranger. That's the word. And so that sort of indicates that our thoughts are having some sort of impact on what they are in some sort of way. But as our beliefs change about what they are, they're changing as well. So I think that they are somehow using our thoughts to manifest you.
Yeah.
You see, that's the only way I could explain something like that. Because the other explanation could be that they don't exist at all. It's just mythology, and as the mythology evolves, people's stories change. So that would be the skeptical explanation. So then that wouldn't explain, physical traces, radiation left at UFO sightings, like at Rendlesham, for instance. That's a case where, that's one of the things that sort of indicates that something definitely did happen there that was real, is the radiation left behind.
Yeah. So
You know,
it's very
so-
interesting, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, well, what do you think of the connection with UFOs and crop circles?
It's one of those things that I haven't really looked into it a great deal.
You haven't looked into that one.
I haven't really looked into it a lot. I think it's one idea that sort of interests me is that it's I don't really know it. It's hard to say, but if I was going to look into it, I'd look into the idea that perhaps this is not aliens at all. It's human beings that are doing this, but not just the guys that are that you see on TV doing that. Doing it with wooden boards and things. Perhaps this is part of a secret space program. Using I don't know what you'd call them, lasers or whatever in outer space to create these things. Why, I don't know.
Yeah. But everyone's got their own theories, haven't they, really?
I mean, it just seems weird with them because some of the designs are so intricate and seen from above, some of them even look like circuit boards and stuff.
Yeah. But, some people say that somewhere along the line somebody is clever enough to do them. So
well, some are, but I can't believe that some of the bigger ones and the intricate ones are done in one night.
I do think it's more
too much work.
Guys with the boards.
Yeah. Ghost Rider says, "I think we are not the only living beings on the universe. He thinks there is life on other planets. What's your theory to that, Richard?"
I think the only people that would say that there are not, other planets with life at this point would probably just be, extreme sort of fundamentalist Christians or whatever. They've got a fundamentalist belief. I think most scientists would say, that the odds are that there is life elsewhere, and the universe is so big that some of it's got to be intelligent. So I don't have a problem with intelligent beings being out there. Yeah. And it is theoretically possible that they could get you. I mean, they just found a planet not that long ago. I think it was only 16 light years away. That's about the size of Earth and the right distance away from the sun that you could have liquid water there, and intelligent beings.
Yeah.
So, and that planet wouldn't have had to have evolved life. It could have been, colonized perhaps, or something like that.
Years and years ago, I remember people saying that everyone had a mirror image, so we must have a mirror image of another planet with everything else going on.
Well, hopefully they're not making the same mess of it as we are.
Probably are.
Yeah. Actually, when you think about it, if the universe is infinite, there must be an infinite number of planets just like this one.
Yeah.
And perhaps with tiny little differences, like perhaps right now somewhere deep in space there's another me doing this interview, but he's wearing a different coloured shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
See, I mean, what I find interesting about the other galaxies idea is that every single one of them seems to have a black hole in the centre of it. So I'm wondering whether that's where we're getting the connection from with different so-called UFOs coming through the wormholes, black holes, connecting with the different galaxies.
Possible.
Black holes are interesting. At the centre of a black hole there's a thing called a singularity, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And it's basically a point where there's probably a lot of physicists listening now who'll say that, I'm getting this wrong or whatever. But basically my understanding is that at this singularity, absolutely everything becomes possible. The laws of physics basically go out the window.
Yeah.
The gravity is so intense that there's nothing. There's anything becomes possible at the point of this singularity.
Yeah.
So it's like 0.0.
Point zero. Yeah.
You said that earlier somewhere along the line. Somebody said that today. I've heard it.
You heard it somewhere along the line.
Somewhere today.
So But do you ever think about? I've often thought about this. There's all these sightings that are said that are going on, yet the powers of be are watching the airspace in case of somebody coming in to attack us or whatever, whichever country it is. And the way I look at it, if they can't see these UFOs, for want of a better word,
entering our
airspace and popping up and what have you, what's going on? They must have some sort of shielding or something, because you're getting all these remarks, and 9 times out of 10 they're saying no, we've not seen anything, or nobody's kicked off with the media and said, oh my God, we've had a visitor from another planet, But what do you think, Richard? Do you think there could be? Do you think they've already connected with us and just coming in with maybe a cloaking device so they don't get detected?
Well, we have got a thing. Well, the Americans at least have got a thing called the stealth fighter. Remember, which is invisible to radar. So, if the Americans can figure it out, I think the aliens or whatever is flying these things would be something similar. And another thing, I mean, obviously the people that are at the radar stations or whatever, they're not aware of any sort of cover-up or anything like that.
No.
Unless they're told just to, don't tell anyone about this. This is top secret, and that's about as far as it goes with them in terms of what they know. But I think at higher level, they know a lot more about what these UFOs are than what we're being told.
Yeah.
I mean, from a radar point of view, they'll just see a blip on the radar screen or something moving rather quickly.
It's easy to say that, fine, we'll have an official investigation, and they have the investigation and say, oh, well, it was just a flock of birds.
Yeah.
And people, I think, are inclined to believe, especially military people, they're inclined to believe that sort of explanation other than something sort of fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
I think a cover-up is a lot easier than sort of people make it out to be.
Yeah. Ghost Rider's come back with a question for you. Quite an interesting question, actually. What does your guest think, meaning you, Richard, of people who think they are not from this earth and are here to observe and learn from us? Or just, I know somebody who actually believes he's from another planet and doesn't feel as though he fits in with this world, this earth. What's your theory to that?
Well, this is sort of an odd take on it, but if you look at religion, then it's filled with sort of figures, for lack of a better term, people that weren't from this world, but they came from elsewhere.
Yeah.
People like, Jesus is probably the obvious example, because we're living in, a country with a Christian tradition. But, before that, the Greeks and the Romans had people, like Hercules, for instance, that was a son of a god. So this idea of human beings that have got a connection with the heavens, outer space, whatever you want to call it, is a very old one. And I think there's something to it.
Yeah.
I think there's something to it. Now, of course, if a friend said to me that they had an alien or whatever, I'd be very skeptical about it. But as an idea, I'm open-minded to it.
Right. It is I've heard quite a few people say that, actually, to be honest with you. Well, I say of quite a few.
Yeah.
Probably
Arash is the prime example.
Roughly about 5 to 10 people, so that feel as though that either they think that there's something going on, or and then you get those that are talking about lizard people and things like that, don't you?
Well,
so
lizards, praying mantis, and all
praying
sorts.
mantis people, and and these weird people that's supposed to be here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
So
that's because if you look into this idea, it's a very old idea.
Really?
Yeah, the idea that hybrids between, people that are sort of half human and half. The term they used in the ancient world was gods.
Yes.
What is a god? It's an alien basically.
It's a demigod.
So it's a very, very old idea, and because it's such an old idea, I'm less cynical about it.
Yeah.
Now, but at the same time, it'll take a lot to convince me. If for someone, I'd need DNA evidence or something like that before it's something that I believe about a person.
Yeah.
But it's not something I laugh about. I take the idea that we could have human-alien hybrids, whatever term you want to use, living on the planet.
Yeah.
Is something that I take seriously as an idea.
Yeah. So, with all this that you do, what is your best subject so far that you've written on?
I'd say I'm basically a generalist. I kind of go from idea to idea and looking at different things.
Yeah.
I suppose the thing that I'm sort of hooked on at the moment, looking into, is the idea of where humans came from originally.
Yeah.
Is something I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And there's the ancient astronaut idea that aliens came here millions of years ago and sort of experimented on some apes or whatever that were here, and that sort of resulted in us.
Yeah.
Something like. Have you seen the new Planet of the Apes film?
I haven't. Have you, Steve?
No.
No. I remember the old ones.
The old ones.
I do wonder whether we, they obviously say we are from apes, aren't we? But know.
I'll tell you. I won't spoil the storyline just in case you do see it. But
okay.
Basically, they've changed the story a bit from the old films. Is that humans are experimenting on apes, and they cause some sort of. They change the ape's DNA basically that makes them more intelligent.
Yeah.
And I think maybe something like that happened to us millions of years ago. But instead of humans experimenting on apes, it was aliens experimenting on apes, and the result was us. Something like that.
Sounds feasible, doesn't it? Can be feasible. We got the Viscount in. Welcome, Viscount. And he's asking, being a generalist, I'll say it as he's written it, what subjects actually gets your juices flowing? He's a southern Welsh guy like you are. Or I think he is. He's there in South Wales.
He's Irish.
Was he Irish? But he's in South Wales anyway. But he wants to know, being a generalist, which subject really gets your juices flowing?
Well, I don't know what he means by. I suppose.
I think he means journalist.
Journalist.
Yeah, I'm interested in lots of different things. That's what he means. What am I most interested in? What sort of? Well, what gets my juices going are sort of. And this will sound terrible, but it's the really outlandish, crazy theories that sort of really fascinate me. These are often ideas that I don't take seriously.
No.
Sort of admire the genius that it took to create them, and come up with these sort of ideas. And sometimes, it doesn't happen often, sometimes I'll come across a really crazy idea that I think is just outlandish.
Yeah.
And I'll start looking into it, and I'll start thinking, well, maybe there is something to this. Maybe it's not exactly that, but maybe there's something similar could be happening. One idea is the idea of a secret space program. I mean, that's something that when I first heard about it, I thought that no, they couldn't do that. They couldn't get away with it. But I think it's quite possible that the Americans could have, bases on the Moon and Mars. Now, when I first heard about that years ago, I thought it was outlandish.
Yeah.
But when you start looking at it, have you seen the film 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yes.
Long time ago.
I mean, that was, written by Arthur C. Clarke, a scientist. He really believed that that's where we would be in 2001 in terms of technology, and we could have been there if the funding had continued. We could have been at the point where we had missions going off to Jupiter's moons and things like that. But the only reason it didn't happen is because of the funding. You know, the official history says that the Americans basically had to pay for the Vietnam War instead. So they sort of, you know, cut the space program. But then you realise that they've spent trillions of dollars on this. It's called the black budget. This is money that they've spent, and they don't know what it was spent on. It was spent on secret programs. So, you know, trillions of dollars, you know, they could have sent a mission to Mars, and they, you know, and set up a colony or something there. It's quite possible. You know, they've had enough time and they've had enough money.
So
that's an idea that I'm seriously, you know.
I think there's a good line in Independence Day where he says, "You don't think they spend $1 million on a hammer, do you?"
No, this is it.
Yeah.
So, well, we've had a few comments in the chat room while you've been talking, Richard. First one is from, when I can find it again, 2 seconds. First of all, the Viscount wants to thank you for your honest answer, and basically says that he likes the outlandish, your outlandish ideas about that. So he thanks you for that. I'm just trying to find out where we are.
David Lloyd says about DNA.
David Lloyd said, how come... Oh, God, it's jumped up again. How come people live in the Bible for 800 years or more, and then the DNA upgrades makes it that we only live 70. So there's another theory. And what else have we got? I'm losing him because the chat room's jumping up so quick. His belief, David Lloyd's belief, is that... can you read it, baby? Because I've just jumped up.
I believe it is that the Anunnaki upgraded primitive humans to mine the gold instead of them doing it themselves. I did ask what the Anunnaki is, but he hasn't come back on that one.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about there. Yeah. Zacharias Sitchin. I think I'm pronouncing his name right there.
Okay.
You know, he wrote a series of books. I think his book was called The 12th Planet. You know, he talked about Nibiru and things like that. Have you heard of Nibiru?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nibiru,
he basically he could read Sumerian, I think it was. Mm-hmm. It was an ancient language. There was these tablets found in Iraq, and he translated them. And they talk about the Anunnaki. These were the names for these people's gods. And it sort of tells how they created human beings and things to be, to mine gold and things like that. And his theory was that they were real and that they were aliens that came here, basically. It's very controversial, though, because at the time, not many people could speak this or translate this language, but now a lot more people can, and they say that, he mistranslated this and that. But perhaps he might have got a lot of the details wrong. But I think, perhaps there's something to his core idea.
Yeah, Andy 707 just said the Anunnaki are believed to have descended from the stars, and it was written in Babylonian and Assyrian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modern day Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was you saying earlier that your next project is about the Planet of the Apes theory?
Well, I've already written an article on that
You've already
idea.
done that one?
On Neon Nettle.
Yeah. Okay.
If you go to neonnettle.com and in the search box type in Richard Thomas, they'll see all the articles I've written there.
Right, I'll pop that into the chat room for you. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you've obviously done an article on that now. So what's your next article then, Richard? Where are you looking at going?
Well, I think I'll probably do... One idea that I have is this... I want to do something on ancient astronauts, basically.
Yeah.
So I think I'll probably do something about films where they've used this idea.
Hmm.
2 films I definitely write about. One is Prometheus, which is the Alien prequel that came out a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Quatermass in the Pit, which was from 1967.
Yeah.
Classic film.
Yeah. It's on the horror channel right now. It's been repeated. If people take a look on that channel, it should come up sometime.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you again for taking the time to come and talk to us, Richard. And we really are interested in what you're doing. Bit nosy like that, but no, seriously, everyone needs somebody like you to write these things. Otherwise, we wouldn't know anything or we wouldn't learn anything.
Well, we need people like Richard to make us start thinking about this stuff.
Yeah. So so all power to you, Richard.
Well, as long as I'm doing that, I'm happy, because that's what I try to do with my articles, is get people to think about things. You know.
Okay then, Richard. Well, thanks very much indeed, and hope to speak to you again sometime in the future.
Yeah, that would be great.
Keep posting what you've been posting on our Facebook group. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, my love. Bye.
Cheers, Richard.
Bye.
Right, well, that was Richard, all the way from South Wales, and so I hope you enjoyed that interview. What we're going to do is, in a few moments, well, in a while, we're going to hopefully be talking to Lee Conway. So I just sent him a message to tell him that we'll be contacting him soon.
Yeah, David Lloyd just said the reason for mining gold, it was said to repair the body and the capacity to use more of the brain and think quicker.
Yeah.
Moonatomic gold and live longer.
See, this is what this show's all about. It's nothing too rigid, We're just a relaxed evening, having a cup of coffee or whatever with friends, as Andy Mercer likes to say. Thank you for joining us all the way from Munich on your holiday. Right, that's dedication for you, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I never knew anything about what David's been talking about.
No, I know.
So that's all new to me. So I've learned something today.
Well, this is it. This is what it is. We're all learning bits and pieces. We're sharing the information.
That's a happy time for me today. I've actually learned something.
Yeah. So it's not too bad. So as I say, our next guest, I told him that he should be available between half 9 and 9:45. So he's probably not going to come around until then. So, but I have mentioned it on Skype that I will be calling him soon. Okay. No mystery is closed to an open mind. That's what Dave Lloyd said.
Very true.
And we have had Dave Lloyd on the show before.
We have, and
back in the beginning.
And he said a little bonkers in here sometimes, but that's the best part.
Oh, this is it. You know what I mean? So, it's talking about great films. I found a film that I was talking about King Kong, because you said about new King Kong.
I was on about the new Godzilla.
Oh, was it new Godzilla? I thought you said they were making another King Kong.
Oh yes, yeah, Skull Island.
Right, yeah. Well, I remembered a clip from an old film where he came out of an iceberg. And Steve said, I think it's King Kong versus Godzilla, and I found it today, so that was good. So, I can actually watch it on Facebook, because I put the link on my Facebook page. It's got one I haven't seen since I was a child. So, and Andy said, what's this? Viscount said gold was used as a healing power within Egypt, 100% within Egypt, over 100 years ago. And Andy said, and with what no one's mind should be so open that their brain falls out. Typical Andy. Okay, so what we're going to do now?
Yeah, I mean, what Viscount said there. I mean, the Egyptians were very open to healing through hands and crystals and that.
Yeah.
And earth qualities like gold, like he says there.
So, what I'm going to do is I've got quite a few events to go through, because I've written them all down, ready to tell you about them. So please bear with me, and here we go.
We've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Well, it's the time of year for ghost ghost walks, I should say, not ghost hunts. And first one we've got is Blackpool Ghost Walks. They've started now, and they're going on through to the 26th of October. You can join Haunted Blackpool's author and founder of Supernatural Events, Stephen Mercer, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago, on a Blackpool Ghost Walk this summer, and he will take you to some of Blackpool's most famous and, of course, most haunted locations, where you will hear tales of unearthly events to make you question everything you thought you believed in. The spooky stroll begins at the front of the North Pier, next to the ice cream and candy floss stand, beneath the LED advertising screen. Meet there at 7:30, and the walk lasts for approximately an hour and a half, and fully accessible to all and family friendly even. Visit www.blackpoolghostwalks.co.uk for more details. Also, Neil Arnold, you may remember we had him on the show a while ago too. He's conducting ghost walks within the Medway towns, all new Bluebell Hill ghost walks, where facts are far stranger than fiction. For a number of years, there has been rumours that a ghostly bride-to-be haunts the dark roads around the village of the Bluebell Hill. Local legend states that the woman, a victim of a car crash in the 1960s, can be seen on certain nights of the year, hitching a lift from passing motorists, but this is not the case. The fact about Bluebell Hill's high level of strangeness are far weirder than any local story or newspaper article. There is more to Bluebell Hill that meets the eye, with sightings of several different ghosts, mysterious stones, and reports of prowling big cats. This tour will have you reaching for your torch. The walk begins outside the Lower Bell Public House on the Chatham Road. Suitable footwear, clothing, and a torch is advised, as some parts of the route can be muddy and pitch black. There is no wheelchair access. The author of many books for the Haunted series, including Haunted Rochester, this is where Neil's second ghost walk is being held. On the last Sunday of every month from 7:30 to 9:30, meeting outside Medway Little Theatre opposite Rochester Railway Station and finishing at one of Kent's oldest pubs. Those wishing to book these walks, or if you have a group of 5 or more, and would like to organise a private ghost walk of Haunted Rochester, then you should contact either by emailing neil.arnold@live.com or phone 0785 160 2853. Now, what about the ghost walks of the lanes? Now, if you're holidaying in Blackpool, in Brighton. If you're holidaying in Brighton and you fancy something to do in the evenings, the lanes in Brighton's most celebrated quarter, yet beneath its convivial veneer, darker forces are at work. Join actor and master storyteller Rob Marks as the eccentric Silas the Ghost Walker, or his fellow ghost walkers Jasper and Ebenezer, for a 70-minute walk around Brighton's famous lanes, including 8 haunting sites. For more information on prices, etc., visit www.ghostwalkbrighton.co.uk. On the 31st of July, Club Zero are holding their paranormal meeting at 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Ladybridge Club, Meadway Road, Cheadle, Stockport, SK8 5NZ. You can join the group there for another evening of the paranormal, where you can review and book investigations, review recorded footage, test your knowledge in the paranormal DVD quiz. Also, there will be tarot readings by Suzanne Lilly. The occasional guest speakers, who this week will be Steve Mera, and he's talking about UFOs, I think, and much more, including a free door raffle. Okay, so you can join them and immerse yourself in the world of the paranormal. For more details, visit www.clubzeroparanormal.co.uk. Right, let's go on to the events that's happening over the next few weeks. The 1st of August, Woodchester Mansion. When it comes to hauntings and paranormal activity, this majestic building is fast becoming the only place to go for a paranormal night. As seen on TV's Great British Ghost, the drive down the long wooded approach will have your nerves tingling. Woodchester Mansion is a 19th century Victorian Gothic masterpiece, mysteriously abandoned mid-construction in 1873, hidden in a secluded Cotswold valley. It is untouched by time and the modern world. This Grade 1 listed building has been saved from dereliction, but will never be completed. Book today at www.personalparanormal.co.uk. On the 2nd to the 9th of August, the AFC Week, the Spirits of Summer. The Spirit of Summer at the Arthur Findlay College, Stansted Hall, offers a week-long annual summer seminar of mediumships, spiritualists and fun. Are you ready to let yourself go? For more information on booking and all inquiries, please contact the Arthur Findlay College direct on telephone number 01279 813 636 or visit the venue website www.arthurfindlaycollege.org and click on the All Courses section. On the 9th of August, the Haunted House, York. I've heard recently that it's being sold, but I'm not sure. The story of this haunted house started over 700 years ago, situated in one of the oldest parts of York, with its history dating back to medieval times. There is talk of a chilling encounter with a presence that some say they hear ghostly chatter, while others relate merely feeling a cold touch and a chill that comes from nowhere and dissipates as they turn to see who or what caused it. Don't miss out on this very eerie venue. To book this event, you can visit www.spooksavers.co.uk. Also on the 9th of August, discover Kane overnight ghost hunt. After the very strange happenings during our last successful event, Kane Who Am I, we have decided to provide you the opportunity for you to find the characters that roam the dark corridors and rooms of this 114-year-old building. The National Emergency Service Museum was formerly known as the Fire and Police Museum, but after many years of hard work, it became national on the 1st of January 2014. And this is the first time this famously haunted building have allowed anyone to run a full night event. Don't miss it. We dare you to not only explore the building with our expert paranormal team, but also to sleep in one of the most haunted rooms overnight. The above includes pie and peas, supper and light refreshments. So for more details, visit www.emergencymuseum.org.uk and click on the Discover Kane logo. That's in Sheffield. 23rd of August, the Skirrid Inn. As seen on TV's Most Haunted, this location has everything you need for a fantastic paranormal night. It ranks regular as the must-do location amongst ghost hunters. Glasses were mysteriously sent flying at the Skirrid Mountain Inn when a former landlady attempted to sell the pub, with a history as rich and bloody as this location. So be prepared for anything and everything. This event includes a 2-course fish and chips supper, and you can book today direct with www.personalparanormal.co.uk. 25th of August, we have another Club Zero paranormal meeting. Normally the third, is it the third or the last? The last Thursday of every month, and that's at the Lady Bridge Club in Stockport. On the 30th of August, the David Livingstone Central Blantyre in South Lanarkshire. Lanarkshire Paranormal are returning to this amazing place to raise money for the building. This location was the birthplace of David Livingstone. Now a museum, his spirit is said to still be roaming within the walls. Full of artifacts and creepy mannequins, this active location will definitely be a memorable night. To book a ticket for this event, then visit www.lanarkshireparanormal.co.uk. Now, do you fancy an evening of mediumship? Well, Derek Acora is still doing his 2014 Enlightenment Tour. You can find out where he's appearing by going to derekacora.com. Also, you can see Tony Stockwell live on tour. You've got Tony will be performing with James Van Prague, doing mediumship evenings, and also 3-day workshops and medium evenings in Lancaster. He's got one mediumship evening in Edinburgh. But to find out more where he's appearing and with Jason Van Prague, go to tonystockwell.com and click events. Colin Fry's Voices from Heaven Tour 2014. Join Living TV's psychic medium Colin Fry for an evening of clairvoyance. Colin continues his countrywide tour of the UK. For more information, visit www.colinfry.co.uk. Paranormal Events for You support quality events. If at any time a company attracts negative press through their own actions and fails to immediately deal with the situation in favour of the greater mass, i.e. the public, then ParanormalEventsForYou.com reserve the right to remove any mention of that company from their publications. So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events, available now. ParanormalEventsForYou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. ParanormalEventsForYou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. And that's the events for this month coming up. Now, one thing I will say to you is, before Steve goes into something here regarding our disclaimer there, Lanarkshire Paranormal, my son, or our son I should say, runs that group with his beloved wife, and it's his birthday today, so I'd like to wish him a very happy birthday. Okay, and going on to what we were saying at the end of the events there about quality events, at the end of August, we have a bit of a controversial show, don't we, Steve?
As most of you will know, there's been a company that's...
Why can't we hear you?
Right,
try again.
There you go, try again. I turned it off so I wouldn't interrupt you earlier. Yeah, as most of us would have heard, there's been a company that hasn't exactly been keeping it friendly, so to speak, and fulfilling their obligations to their members and that. On this show, we've invited the people concerned onto the show.
Yeah, because they want to get it out there about what's going on.
They want to get it out there. They want it to be put right. If we can, hopefully, we can get hold of the company themselves. If they listen to this, I'm sure you know who you are. Please get in touch, because we would like to hear your point of view as well. We don't want it to be all one-sided. So please do get in contact with us. And invited who, says Andy. I can't remember what
right, basically,
what name is.
Right, what we're doing is, you've missed a bit. Right, on the 31st of August, we've got a show coming up, yeah, which basically is going to be talking about a certain, thank you, Viscount, a certain company, and we're going to be finding out exactly what's been going on by these people and how they've been affected. Okay, and they want to get the word out there, because apparently this company are still actually supposed to be going under a new name and doing cash only events.
Yeah.
Now,
and not only that, the people are being transferred over to the old company owners, who are being asked for refunds, and they had nothing to do with it.
Yes, so hopefully we've actually what we're going to do is we've booked tonight for the 31st of August, and it's going to be basically just on that. We're hoping to get the previous owner of the company on. She's interested, and some of the people, not all of them, because there's quite a few.
Yeah, there's too
some
many
of the people that have been affected by this, and find out their side of what's going on and what has been going on. And
obviously we would like the Bowens to come on and give their side of it as well, because although there's going to be a lot of information, we want them to give them a chance to give their side of it.
So please join us for that. We're going to have a lot of phone-ins on that night. It will be recorded so that it can go on YouTube purposes. So because they really want to get the word out there.
Yeah. And from the KTPS point of view, normally we wouldn't do this.
No.
Because but we don't. Not only does it affect other paranormal groups, what's been happening, we also don't want people to lose their money.
No, this is it. So and basically they do want to warn people as well,
yes.
Just in case, So we're giving them a say, so to speak. But if anyone is listening to this particular episode and the company we're talking about, please ask them to contact us, because we're willing to come on the show.
Yeah, we want them on as well to put. And their
if they want to come on and put their 2 pennies, that's not a problem.
Yeah. All we ask to anybody who comes on the night is please be respectful. You're welcome to put your point over, but there's no need for infanities and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Okay. So look out for that one. All right. Right. Okay. I'm just going to play this, and we'll get our next guest on the show.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
Okay, so hopefully now we've got our friend Lee on the line. Are you there, Lee?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hiya.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not going to be too bad a signal here. Now, Lee, you're from a group called PUP, Primrose Unknown Project. Is that correct? Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
Right, okay. Now, basically, can you tell us a little bit about the group?
We originally started about 3 years ago. We mainly do it's theatrical. When we originated, it was just doing basic scare attractions, which was.
Can I just ask, Lee? We're being asked if you're underwater.
Sorry? Oh dear.
We're being asked if you're underwater.
Is it not a very good line?
No, it isn't.
But we can hear it. We can
hear it, but it's a bit tinny.
I can try and change if needed.
Go on, give it a go.
Alright, just sorry about this.
That's alright.
Either that or we can possibly ring him if he puts his number up.
Whichever. I mean, I can if I give 2 minutes, I can sort of change it across to the.
Okay, give us a call when you're ready. Yeah.
All right then, 2 minutes.
Right. He'll be back in 2 minutes. I think he was on his iPhone or something.
Oh, right.
I remember him saying something, or a tablet or something or other. And he did say earlier that if it doesn't sound good, he'll go onto the computer.
To the main computer. Yeah,
you know, 1 minute 55 seconds. So, but no, going back to what we were talking about. So that's something that we will be discussing on the 31st. Now, one thing I will tell you is next week, just while we're waiting for Lee to come back. Next week we have a young lady. She's been on the show before, but it's Carla Willis Brandon. Some of our older viewers may remember her, and basically she's came on before talking about the departing visions of the dying, and she's going to be talking about departing visions and the afterlife. She's from all the way from
It's from the USA.
From the USA, and I can't remember
isn't
where.
she in California somewhere?
Pardon?
Isn't she in California somewhere?
No, I don't think it is. It's something beginning with G, and I've forgotten. 2 seconds.
G. Georgia? Georgia?
No,
Georgia.
Galveston.
Galveston, Texas.
That's where she lives. So she's coming on the show to talk about that. Okay. And the following week, we have Stephen Richards. No, it's not my son.
No, although he has been on.
He's going to be talking about the law of attraction and mind power. Okay. Some people in the past have likened it to, have called it cosmic ordering, but he doesn't like that word anymore. So we've got him on the show.
He thinks some people links it to some mind games and that.
Yeah.
He doesn't
And
like it.
the weekend after that, we have a very special guest live in the hub, all the way from Essex, and that is Andy Mercer. So, and after that, on the 24th, we've got Alison Winrider back with us doing some more readings. And then obviously the 31st, we've got the Compass debate, as I'm calling it. So, yes, that's what we've got on coming up in the near future. I have also contacted Guy Playfair, Guy Lloyd Playfair, to come back on the show, and told him that we'd like him to talk about the Enfield poltergeist again this time. So he's coming back on in September. Okay, I'm hoping for the 7th, but I've got to remind him nearer the time. So there you go. And Steve Mera contacted me today, Steve. And he said, "Do you want me on the show?" And I said, "You know, you're always welcome." So when I see him on Thursday, I told him to bring his diary with him, and I said, "If you ever get bored or, at a loose end on a sunny night, pop over."
Yeah. It sounds horrible, but I liken him to the psychic know-it-all.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he just knows so much stuff about something.
Yeah, this is it. But as I say, he's a lovely guy, and he recommends, Phenomena Magazine recommends our show.
And, and David and Vika are true there. He's a nice guy and a great speaker.
He is a great speaker. So, but yeah, what happened here? Oh, he called and I missed him. How the hell did that work? Oh, here we go. Are you there? Hello?
Hello, is that any better?
That's better.
Yay!
Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Lee Conway, okay? And he's from Primrose Unknown Project. Is that right?
It is, that's correct, yes.
Otherwise known as PUP. Where did you get the Primrose from, may I ask?
Yeah, it's actually the street name where we live.
Oh, I see. It's just not a normal name that you'd associate with paranormal, that's all.
No, it was just something when we originated and we had to think of a name. It would just seem that it just seemed quite catchy to call it that. That was all.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Be different.
It's true.
Now, we mentioned one of your events in the Paranormal News event guide just now. So basically, we'll talk about that in a moment. But as I say, what is Paranormal Unknown Projects? Yeah. What do you do?
Primrose. Yeah. What we do is mainly we do scare attractions, which is obviously a theatrical version of the paranormal, where we create using live actors and theatrical props. We create obviously scenes of paranormal nature. How we sort of mainly got into the paranormal thing is that we did an event about 4 months ago at the National Emergency Museum in Sheffield. Mm-hmm. They got in touch with us to actually do one of our attractions there. And then with the help of Seeking Spirits, who is a group that run out of that building regular, we actually came to create a story of reenacting the spirits that actually that lived in the building. So working with them on sort of taking 5 or 6 of the main characters that had been found doing within paranormal investigations by Seeking Spirits, we put characters and live actors into that situation. But the problem is that the spirits really didn't like it.
I see.
So we ended up with one night where we had to actually stop it, and we had to get the paranormal investigators to take over, as we had 2 or 3 of them working as actually actors in there just in case something happened, and they had to do closing down ceremonies and sort of things just to clear the area, because actors were seeing things, and there was slight areas of possession by the character that sort of played the main character in the story. It was rather scary for all the characters and all the actors.
I bet. So this the one that I just advertised, Discovering Cain. Who is Cain?
Cain is one of the spirits that lives at the museum. He is a murderer that lives in the cells. I don't know if have you actually been to the museum?
A long time ago.
We haven't been for a long time.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place, and it's just steeped in history. But if people haven't been, it's the first building that was a multi-purpose emergency services that was built 114 years ago, and it was actually used for all 3 services at that time. So inside the building there's actually cells as well as areas where the fire and the ambulance used to keep their stock and work from as well. And the cells in there, one of the cells is really got high paranormal activity through this character, which has came up on the boards as called Cain. Rather mischievous he was, not a nice person.
No, I see. It's some place that we'd like to go back to again. Can you tell us a bit about the building?
Yeah, as I said, the building itself it's at the moment it's 3 floors. It's run as a museum. It's open 7 days a week. In there, we concentrated on there's about 6 or 7 spirits that were sort of that had high activity in there. It's 14 year old. As I say, it was used by the emergency services, and it was also used in the Second World War as an observation, they used it for a place where it was quite safe, obviously, because Sheffield had quite a lot of bombings in World War II. It's an absolutely wonderful place. Yeah,
and I didn't recognise it straight away, but it's what used to be called the Fire and Police Museum.
That's right. They changed last year to they actually got registered, sort of recognised as the National Emergency Services Museum. So they had a rebranding, and it's sort of they've got a new director down there, a guy called Matt Wakefield, and he's sort of turning everything round to sort of make it, and it's becoming so popular at the moment with sort of there's lots and lots of paranormal groups going down there at the weekends.
Yeah. So what made you decide to go down the reenactment type view? Path.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of between me and my partner, we've always been. I've always been interested in the theatrical side of it, and my partner, she's been mainly onto she's a witch, and so she sort of. The sort of supernatural side came from mainly that, so we just sort of enacted it together, and it just seemed a really sort of a good idea to start sort of putting things on for local. So we used to do them for charity in his own garden when it come to obviously Halloween, and it sort of progressed from there. We got to a point where we couldn't move any further. As we were doing shows in the back gardens of Fivers as neighbours' gardens as well, and it got to a point where we had to move out and do things in buildings, and then to get sort of so close with the guys at the National Emergency Services Museum, it was just a dream come true, really, because of the place just soaked up history as it was.
Yeah. You asked me on Facebook, I think it was, whether we'd ever done one of these Fright Nights before.
Yeah.
We used to go to Jason Cole, didn't we? It's Halloween.
Right. Atmosphere.
Yeah, and and we used to do a review there.
We used to go every year, didn't we?
It'd be lovely to come and do a review of your one, but
definitely, yeah.
Let's go back a bit. Part of your conversation. She's a witch.
She is, yeah. She's a solitary witch. I think it were relatively strange for me. Sort of, I'd known Sarah for a long time, and then sort of when we sort of got together and lived together, it was sort of quite interesting to come in and see a house full of witches.
So, how do you mean by she's a solitary witch? You mean she's not in a coven?
She's not in a coven, no.
Right.
No.
So, what does she do?
She just practices on her own. So it's just very simple spells.
Obviously, white magic.
Of course, yes, yeah. So unless I've been bad, and then sometimes you start getting itches and hurts places where I probably shouldn't get them. So I'm sure sometimes it's having bad thoughts.
The Viscount said his wife is a witch. He'll be sleeping on the couch tonight. But no, Viscount, she is actually a witch.
She is literally a witch. Yes.
So what's it like living with a witch?
It's fine. She's obviously, I'd say that she don't travel around on a broom, but there's enough brooms around in the area, and it's fine.
I wish I could find a broom that flew. I really would.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah, she's got quite a few, and I'm sure there'll be one, and there's wands around the place and different things, but it's fine. I think after 6 years, it's normal now. Some people are very look quite strange when they come into this front room and there's all this paranormal ornamental all over, but some get used to it, I think.
But as I say, I'd love to come down and meet you, me and Steve, and do a review on one of your nights.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
How much do you normally charge for one of these spooky sort of Fright Night things?
The scare attractions, it's relatively quite cheap, because the fact is that the events usually last about 20-25 minutes, as you'll have known if you've been to one of Jason's. And we sort of charge between £5 and £6 to get in.
Really?
And it is becoming more and more popular, and I'm sure that you've noticed it. That I don't know why, but at the moment there just seems to be a really big interest in things like that.
We know a couple of places that started doing like zombie type fright things, and in the dark, and like Drake tunnels. They do it, and this place we've just found called the Block. They do things like that.
It is. I mean, at the moment, the side of it is just breeding so fast. It's like every time that I seem to turn Facebook on, there's another company set up that's doing zombie survival nights. It's not really my style.
No.
And in fact, I try to keep away from anything to do with zombies, because it just what I'd rather do is tell a story. Take somebody on a journey that. A lot of these are relatively quite and very, very successful. Just sort of zombies running through a field, and and I would rather sit there and try and take somebody on a little journey within a small space of time. But it's very popular, and these places are selling out on a week to week basis.
So how many do you do an evening? Is it just the one?
Well, obviously, round about Halloween, we've got we run from a farm in just on the outskirts of Wakefield, which we've got we've got 2 mazes there, and we also do like a little a thing for the kids in the day, where we try to take away all the technology side of Halloween and try and take it back to sort of, and I'm not that old, but when we were kids as such, where so it's like ducking apples and finding bones in straw and little witches' trails through the woods, and just basic stuff that takes away technology and sort of like we did it for the first time last year, and we found the kids absolutely adored it, and it was just good to see hundreds of kids walking around and not got the faces in DS's or iPhones
I must admit, they are a bit lost in them nowadays, aren't they?
That's true, yeah. And the problem is it's the. I mean, I've got sort of my youngest is 10, and he you know, if he hasn't got his DS with him, then he's sat on his Xbox, and it's just that the imaginary side of the, you know, they've got no imaginations now. I don't think a lot of kids. It's just because everything's just set out for them in front of them on a computer.
Yeah, this is it. So, but it sounds fascinating. It really does. So, how long have you been doing the PUP? How long have you been actually in the paranormal side?
We've for the scare attractions, we've done it for 3 years. So, and then before then, we did it on sort of like a very amateur basis on what they call home haunts, which is a very American way of dressing your house up for Halloween as such. A bit more elaborately than just putting a pumpkin outside. But so we sort of progressing very slowly as a company. And the fact is that because we sort of working in conjunction with the museum and just some other places around it, is that, and we found out, so we were totally fascinated with when we went to the museum and found all these stories about the sort of the real paranormal side of this museum.
Yeah.
That we wanted to find out more, which is, and we sort of found that we went to the scare attraction industry have like their main meet of the year. It's called a place called ScareCon, and we went and did a talk about the paranormal side of doing the scare attractions, and it was, everybody was so enthralled with it, which is why we came up with this idea of doing this all-nighter at the museum, which is the Discover Kane, which we didn't know at the time, which will be the first time that the museum has actually let a group in and to do a paranormal event the full night. They generally stop at 2 and we'll be going on while 7.
Right, so that's how long it goes on for, is it?
We start at 7:30.
Yeah.
And then between 8 and 2 o'clock will be we've got some, the paranormal investigators are running a paranormal event at the museum as they would do on a normal basis, and then at 2 o'clock when that finishes, we've got some within it. There's some food and drinks, and then everybody's bringing sleeping bags, and then we're just really going to take it from there. As we'll probably have like exclusive walks around the building to different places with the paranormal guys. We're also going to put some films on, and afterwards there's probably going to be, we've got a guy coming in, a magician that does like psychological magician work. He's going to come and do a little spot for us, and we've also probably got a few surprises within the theatrical side, where we've got a few actors that are going to come in and just try and spice it up when everybody's getting a little bit sleepy.
So this is on the 9th of August, is it?
It's yes, yep, it is.
And is that £5 to £6, or is that a different price?
There's a little different prices because obviously it's virtually it's an 11.5-hour event, so that's £30 but that's for everything. Right. As we look at it, is the fact is that, you know, because you're sleeping in the museum as well, which is few and far between that people have been able to do that, and you know, you haven't got to think about getting a hotel in the area, so I think it's still really value for money.
Oh, we used to come down, do the event and travel back home again.
I know, I mean, I've gone to different events and done exactly the same, and they are shattering, but you know, I think it's just going to be a really good opportunity for people to do it, and we've had a good response, and across the board we've got people that have done scare attractions and that came to when we did it at the museum, plus we've got paranormal people that are enthusiastic about coming there, plus some of the general public that just want to come and just really just see what everything's about, really. So it's going to be a big sort of scope.
Yeah, it's really good fun.
Sounds like a fun night.
Can I be bold to ask you if I can hook you up with somebody on Facebook to maybe share some of your ideas with them? Yeah,
definitely, that's fine.
Right, yeah. I'll do that after the show. Okay,
no problem.
By account. So basically, it's great to hear from you. It's nice to hear new people coming in with new ideas, you know, bringing a different ball game, basically.
Yeah, coming in from a different angle, and if it's stirring up the paranormal activity at the same time.
I mean, this was thing that we were really interested about doing, and to be honest with you, it was it was a brave move by the sort of paranormal guys that work with us from Seeking Spirits as well, because we thought that because we were sort of doing the theatrical side of it, that they may be sort of a little bit suspect about working with us on trying to do what we wanted at the museum, but they were full board with us all the way, and they loved it. And then obviously when the paranormal activity actually started for real, it was sort of like, to them it was sort of, they sort of got so much enjoyment out of the nights. It was unbelievable, and we had like 8 nights, continuous nights, and within them there were probably 3 or 4 nights that were sort of, you know, there were lots of unexplained things that went on by all the actors. We had seasoned actors working in there, and there were a few nights that they were all really, really sort of unsure about where they were working, and if it were, I don't know if, I think in the end it weren't the actors that were scaring the customers. I think it was the spirits that were scaring the actors.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, but it does sound fascinating, doesn't it?
Sounds like fun.
It does sound like fun. So, you know, you'll have to, I've just added you as a friend. I thought I did it earlier, actually, but,
Excellent. Yep.
And I've also passed your,
yeah,
profile on to Steve.
Have to let us know when
you'll
the
have
next
to let
one
us
is.
know, when, you know, give us a couple of dates on when we can pop down.
Definitely, yeah. It'd be good to get you down and enjoy it. And as I say, anybody that's not been to the museum, really, even if they can't get for any of the paranormal nights, it's just to go in the daytime. It's just such a stunning place.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be good to see some of the guys from Seeking Spirits as well, because we do know a few of them, don't we?
Yeah. Don't know whether the trees are still there, but Jane is as well.
Jane. Jane was the instigator regarding us virtually going to the museum to do this in the first place. That Jane and a group of the Seeking Spirits, they came to our scare attraction in Halloween last year, and as soon as they come out, we sort of had a chat about this idea of the reality meeting the fantasy as such, and it was sort of that when they found that we could do it at the museum, it was just like they were so eager to sort of, let's just see if we can make this work, and it worked probably better than we all thought it would do, to be honest.
I can imagine. You know, it gives them something new to get more money in, to generate more money in for what they need.
Yeah,
you know,
for the museum.
Yeah, and I think also it worked on all ways for all 3 parties, and also we got a lot of people that sort of, you know, that came out and talked to us afterwards on Facebook and things, that had gone away then and looked more into the stories of the paranormal side of the museum. So we obviously introduced a lot of people to the paranormal as well. It was that probably wouldn't have known about it before they went to the event.
Well, I'll give you an idea. Roughly how current you found yourself.
Right.
There's a TV program on at the moment called Killer Contact.
Right.
And one of the crew is
like a role player.
It's a role player where she dresses up and pretends to be.
Yes.
For instance, in the Jack the Ripper one they did, she pretended to be a prostitute to get the spirits to interact.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not something that I've actually heard of. Yes, I've heard of like the Jason Carl ones with the corn and everything like that. But it sounds, unless I'm getting it wrong, it sounds as though you're basically revolving it around the history of the actual building.
Yeah, this in theory, that when we sort of sat down with we had a meeting with the Emergency Services Museum and Seeking Spirits, and we sat down, and it was sort of, I generally work as the creative director, so in theory that sort of I come up with all the daft ideas and the mad ideas about what to do in these events, and just walking round, me and Sarah went for the first time to the museum and walked round and sat down, and I just said to Jane, sit and tell me some stories about the spirits that you've come across when you've been doing your investigations. And she told me she told me 6 or 7 different spirits that they come off on a regular basis when they do their paranormal investigation nights. And I sort of said we don't need to make anything up, because this building's got so many, like, so many stories that can be told, and it's all can be actually. It can all be documented. It was really, really good that, people actually came out and they said, "Where did you come up with them stories?" And it was like, it's not a story. You can go onto Google now and Google in National Emergency Services Museum Kane, and it will tell you all the stories about what we've just told you. And so it would just, in a way, it made it easy for us to we didn't have to come up with a far-fetched story, but in a way, it was just perfect. And I think it complemented the museum so much that we managed to be able to tell these stories.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, Lee, are you and your wife sensitive at all to spirit?
Sarah is a little bit. I'm not. But yeah, I mean, there's times where we've been into places and Sarah's said, that she's felt the presence around her. I don't as much, but she's been walking around the museum when we were setting up with Jane, and that she's been able to say, Jane, I can feel something here, and Jane's been able to say, yeah, no, there's definitely something there, and so it's. I think she got a lot of interest out of knowing that that there was a little bit there, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it's good. So, well, it's been great talking to you, Lee. Thank you for getting in contact with us about putting your event on there. If you've got any more, just put them on Paranormal Events for you. Just log in and what have you. And,
no problem.
The only thing I will say is don't put the prices on, okay? Just put a link on